One of the biggest mysteries of the world is Generation 5. This gen is both the best Pokemon region and generation ever, and at the same time, the most hated games ever. And even to me, I've never understood how this can be the case. I want you to keep that in the back of your head as we dive into this video, because maybe you'll find out the answer. I'm going to end the 11-year mystery today. Sinnoh remakes in Generation 5. So before BDSP got announced, there's this guy called Celeste UP. He's a French Pokemon fan with a special love for Gen 4. How you French? That's how you know he liked Gen 4. This man didn't even pick Kalos. When tackling why Gen 5 feels so disconnected, I want you to look at what he's done here, and you'll figure out what went wrong. So this dude has dedicated his life to recreating Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in Generation 5. As actual games, and he's been working on this for a long time. I'm going to show you some clips. Before I show you this footage, I want you to imagine that this is the Dawn that is used in this footage. He uses the Platinum Dawn sprite, which I don't agree with, but when remaking in black and white graphics, you should be embracing the actual way sprites are done in that game. So sprites are a bit taller in this game. This is the Dawn that you'd be seeing. Just imagine that this is the sprite he used, because it kind of makes it hard to see since he used the old sprite. And not just Dawn, all the NPCs should be tall like this, but just starting off, seeing this Dawn sprite is already giving you this feeling that I could get behind this. I want to play this game. I want to play the Sinnoh game that has Dawn looking like this, has us running around animated sprites in battle. Okay, that's enough. I had to say that here because sometimes it's so hard to notice in what I'm about to show you the difference in how things look like in black and white. So I really wish he used black and white sprites. That's why I gotta preface it here. Just pretend all the NPCs and Dawn look like this and are taller. Have this sprite style to them. I'm gonna show you some clips. Twin Leaf Town. Oh shoot, so the best part here is the seasons. So we got black and white Dawn, walking around, snappy graphics, that 3D-esque feel. And then here's Platinum. It's like the same difference between Gen 4 and Gen 3 when you see it like this, Gen 5 and Gen 4. Jubilife City.
Oh my god.
Oh shoot. So nice. Here is Route 209 in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. This is what it looks like. Let's see it in Gen 5. Bridges. Oh, what a G. He coded in the camera tilt. This is a real game. It's not an animation. He hasn't finished the game, but this is all real gameplay of what he's done. It's not an animation. It was brought to life. There's the well. Is that the Spiritomb well? The best part about this is the season. It is a Spiritomb well. That's the ghost tower. This is not what it even looks like in Sinnoh. It's so different when you're able to add seasons. All those trees would be like half gone with all those Deoxys meteors. We're gonna dive into more of this, but I'm gonna answer the question for you. The answer to why people hate black and white despite them being the best games is the fact that they don't feel like Pokemon games. There isn't a reminiscent feeling of Pokemon in those games, so you can enjoy them for what they are, but you won't feel that connection with Pokemon in it. And the first example I can give you that has nothing to do with graphics is that there's no non-Gen 5 Pokemon available in the main story. You build your team with Darmanitan, Crocodile, your starter, and only until after you beat the game do you finally get to see what Tyranitar looks animated and all these new Pokemon. Like, I've actually found the answer. I'm gassed over this. They did a really good job with the new legendaries, Tornadus Trio, Keldeo Trio, Keldeo Quadro. Like, there's a leader to that trio. There's a certain disconnect when you're playing Gen 5 games that it's a Pokemon game, but it's disconnected from a Pokemon game. Now we move on to the graphics. The graphics in Gen 5, we all remember it like it was yesterday. The trailers looking at Castelia City was called Hoenn City back then. We had no idea how this was gonna act in our hands. Like, how is this 3D gonna function? The freaking long Skybridge Tower, everything was so crazy when we saw it in the trailers. But the moment we got to play the games ourselves, that disconnect started, because there wasn't any familiarity aside from it being a Pokemon game. It was almost like playing a Pokemon fan game with a new generation of Pokemon that you had to learn for the first time. That is the big reason that black and white isn't liked despite being the best games. What I'm showing you here in Sinnoh remade in black and white graphics is what was needed by Game Freak. Let's look at more clips and I'll explain. Very faithful Jubilife City. The zoom out. You know I love me some zoom out. So it's a very similar looking game to Platinum. It's a whole generation ahead, but it might be hard to notice the difference at first. The black and white graphics aren't so crazy ahead of Diamond and Pearl. It's a better bridge in the gap compared to Unova to Kalos. Kalos completely messed it up. Look at that. Oh, you're starting to feel it, aren't you? The Gen 5 engine, Floroma town with all the seasons. Oh my god. So, I brought up Kalos, right? How did Kalos succeed? Because they did everything in their power to keep that connection with what Pokemon was. They even Gen 1'd the 3 starters of Kanto, gave them Mega Evolutions and everything. You're constantly reminded the connection this has to Pokemon, this region. I'm telling you, it was a total fluke by Game Freak. Even Game Freak doesn't know what went wrong with Black and White and why it feels disconnected. They fluked with Kalos, brought in Kanto Pokemon and all this stuff, and it worked, and it actually filled in that gap so that the Kalos games don't feel disconnected. They were just trying to Gen 1, but it worked. Canalave City? Oh shoot, this is where you take the dog to that Riolu Island. Nice. It's really weird to say, but the problem with Pokemon Black and White is what they did with that generation. You see, Pokemon Black and White exists on its own generation. That's the end of the sentence. So it's almost like you look at that engine of false 3D, super 2D graphics, and the only Pokemon games that's home to is Black and White. So they're completely isolated there. What they're missing is familiar content also being on that engine. For example, imagine if Generation 3 was remade on the Gen 5 engine, Pokemon Black and White would be the top game of all time. It's so crazy to say, unarguably. The people who don't like Black and White would fade away. It would psychologically, it would fade away. It's so crazy to say that the problem with Black and White has nothing to do with those games itself. Seeing that familiar region, familiar Pokemon, familiar sounds, everything on that engine, and being used to the graphics more for a whole period of time now, for more than just one region, would have closed that gap and really made people like the games. I'm not saying auras shouldn't exist. We're in a different future right now where we're correcting the problem of Black and White. Alternatively, like if you think about it, the entire Unova region is associated with this engine. It's almost like a weird candy. The only flavor of this candy is Unova. So people, there's always a disconnect with it. Imagine, all right? If there's no auras remakes, if they did this, if at the end of Pokemon Black and White, there was a Sinnoh postgame, an impossible future, but watch what it does. Imagine if you could go to Sinnoh in the postgame, just like you could go to Johto at the end of the Kanto postgame. Because Unova was a sort of a reboot, imagine if they let you go to a post-game region. And it just so happens Sinnoh isn't a weird generation, it's the gen before, just like Kanto is the gen before Johto. Now I want you to imagine that this is a real Sinnoh post-game that existed at the end of Unova. It doesn't have to be the whole story. It's that storyless post-game that you do in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. You just fight all the gym leaders and then get to fight a Super Elite Four, but also get to explore that region in these graphics. And if you look at it, these graphics aren't super different from Platinum, but they're elevated up and bring you more familiarity to the engine. Heart Home City. Imagine you could do this at the end of the Unova post-game. You're in Unova in Gen 5 graphics. It clears up the weirdness. The engine becomes familiar. Now you can grasp Unova without it feeling like that icky candy. Oh, dude's got an Emolga? Or is that a Pachirisu? And you know, best thing? It really is a missed opportunity. Best thing is, imagine you find Don standing somewhere atop Mount Coronet. Definitely has to be Don, can't be Lucas. Who the hell is that guy? That's an even bigger nod to Pokemon. The same situation as Red again. All these familiarities brought in together. That's what would get rid of that weird aura around Unova. Twin Leaf City. At Winter. Frozen Pond. You know what I mean? You come to this post-game. This is Black and White right now. We're playing Black and White. Let's pretend we're playing Pokemon Gray. Alright? We're in Unova and Gen 5. See, oh, here we go. We got different seasons here. This is actually even cooler because you'd be able to uncover different places. If you went to Snow Point in winter, there'd be even deeper snow. Maybe you could go to some next mountain. Eterna City, okay? Black and White post game. We're in Sinnoh. Let's head to Eterna City. I'm taking on all the Sinnoh gym leaders. Let's head to Eterna City. Bicycle shop. Come on, show me that statue, dude. The gyms. Go fight whoever's in there. Gardenia. There we go. Look, it's the Galactic Tower. You gonna go there? Cut trees. Everything's there. It's that tower. Here we go. Here's the statue. There you go. Well done. Camera panning. It's so weird to say. What's missing from black and white is something that doesn't actually have to do with black and white. Either Hoenn Remake should have been in that generation, or should have had a Sinnoh post game, which is a really weird thing to say because Unova itself had a lot in it that it's not fair to say add Sinnoh to that. I will never say that about any other Pokemon game. Kalos needed more, Sword and Shield needed more, Sun and Moon needed more, but Unova, they did need this to bring familiarity though. Oh shoot. Route 201. This is the first route again in Super Winter. How freaking nice. Imagine this is the first place you fly to at the end of the black and white. When you first go to Sinnoh, you meet Professor Rowan. That's it right there. This weird thing they do with the camera in black and white. Pixelated sprites zooming in on them as if they're 3D. This is fixing it, bro. Here we go. He built a random map with Sinnoh feel to it. It's not a real Sinnoh place. You could add new locations like this. This in particular feels a lot like Unova. Bridges the gap with Sinnoh. With familiarity. Eterna Forest. Oh, frick, man. Freaking sick. Do you see this? Here's a different way to do Eterna City. The different zoom in. How freaking sick, man. You probably see Cynthia in front of the statue. Alright, let's go to that Mesprit cave in the beginning of the game. Maybe from the post game we can surf. Look at this camera. Look at this, man. This weird zoom out. This is what's needed. Freaking sick, bro. Floroma Town. Super nice. Wow, it's that route from earlier, but in springtime. So you got all the Sakuras. The freaking well, bro. He did Spear Pillar. What? Okay, it's not perfect, but he did Spear Pillar. Okay. Holy, bro. Ho 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 ho. Whoa, Diogo, you a high quality as crap. Holy crap, is that fake? He really coded that in the game. I don't know how you got a 3D model in here, but what the frick? Holy crap. What a fantastic dude. It was really good games, just missing the disconnect that makes it not feel like a fan game. I mean, the game was written so well, it's almost like it was a fan game. I mean, the story. Like, remember the cutscene with Zekrom and Reshiram? Maybe you come here, Sinnoh post game, there's some cutscene with some legendary. Maybe in Pokemon Black, you see, Pokemon White, you see Palkia. Tells you some lore about the trainer that was here a long time ago and that they went missing. You can catch him. You come back after beating all the gym leaders and rematching the Elite Four. Freaking Dawn is waiting atop Spear Pillar. She has the opposite legendary. You know what I mean? Like, then you start to get a lot of familiar Pokemon feels and you can actually grasp the world a bit better. And you get arguments like, yo, is Dawn stronger than Red? I mean, Dawn's got a freaking level 80 team. She's got Dialga. Red just got Pikachu. I know he's got nostalgia power and maybe he can beat her. But it's like very familiar Pokemon elements. Wow. What's happening here? Wow, he added fireflies in the air. As if you haven't done enough. It's a hard thing to say. Two big ways you could have fixed Gen 5, Game Freak. Way number one, Aura should have been remade on this generation. Way number two, there should have been a Sinnoh post game. And It's a lot to say again, a Sinnoh post-game, but you realize it don't gotta be the whole post-game. Gen 5 has so much of a disconnect. If you could just go to just Eterna City, maybe Twin Leaf, and Spear Pillar, and Snow Point. Just 4 locations and the rest are blocked off by rocks. That familiarity enough would open the floodgates and make you realize Gen 5's engine is a real engine, is a part of the Pokemon family. Or, after Black and White came out, if Auras was remade and you got to see Hoenn starters animated in their 2D zoomed in pixelated sprites, if you got to see all of Hoenn with this cool camera angle zooming in and out pixelatedly, that was like a weird, cool, nostalgic touch in Black and White, being pixelated but pretending like it's 3D. In fact, if Auras Remix actually had Pokemon following you, because that's the easiest crap to program, especially in this freaking Game Freak. If Auras Remix were in the Gen 5 engines, and you freaking get your starter from Rowan's bag, and the Mudkip is following you, that would have freaking boosted up the engine of Black and White of Gen 5 and made you love it. They made Gen 5 no familiarity for it to be solidified, and then just skipped on to Gen 6. You and I both know somewhere out there in the 2009 files of projects that were alive for about 10 hours before they were cancelled, Auras was freaking gonna be remade on Gen 5. They changed their whole formula up. They decided to go international, redo Pokemon worldwide, and that's January of 2013. Every Pokemon game needs familiarity. If there wasn't for those Gen 1 Pokemon getting Megas in Kalos, Snorlax is sleeping somewhere. Familiarity. You get the freaking Gen 1 starters early in the game. Familiarity. A new feature called Mega Evolution, give it to a bunch of Pokemon from previous generations. I say Gen 1 a lot, but I mean all the previous generations before that game. Shouts out to this man. Go click the link in the description and give this man some love. Because BDSP's out, his project's not going to get that much love, but he's actually trying to remake this game. I don't know if he'd appreciate more hands helping him or whatever, but just give him one tweet of love, and that'll be pretty sick. The answer is Gen 5 does not have familiarity. Now you're going to pretend, like, now that you've heard it from me, you're going to pretend like, oh, it's obvious this is the case. No, sucker, I came up with this. I freaking went deep inside me, and I uncovered the mystery, and I'm sticking my flag here. Alright? T-Tar solved the mystery. I'm proud of my brain. Shank that like button. See you on the next video. Take care.
Family. This the sound of my alchemy. The greatest success for all those who fell for me. I always respect the friends who wish well for me and live until the end and die. All time will tell for me. But I ain't going anywhere, believe me.